Hi everyone, I believe we're now live for Love Your Money and Creativity Limitations Away. We're just checking to see if the video is working on the webpage. And it is. Okay, great. We're all systems go. How you doing, Jen? You ready?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. Okay, so I believe people can now see us. So just to remind everybody, we've also got the Facebook page. If you want to ask questions on there, there's a post you can ask questions. And we'll be looking at that every few minutes or so. It's particularly important with this topic that we get your feedback and your questions, because we can talk about what's relevant and what's important for you. That's the most important thing. So I'm James Blacker, and Jen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jen, and I don't know, I guess I will feedback and ask any questions that come up, and like you say, I'll keep an eye on the page, and if don't leave me asking questions, like bring your questions, otherwise it will turn into just me asking questions. So
Excellent.
It's fine by me.
Sorry?
It's fine by me, but you know, like you say, you want everybody to get something out of it as well. So
yeah. So let's do a little introduction then. So one of the concepts that we're introducing today, which you're probably familiar with, is clearings, where we're clearing limitations or blocks or any barriers that you have to being all of you. Now, an important thing to remember with clearings is that it's not something that you have to gain. It's not like a skill where you have to somehow achieve it. It's something you already have, which has been shut off to you. So and same with me and Jen and all of us. So there's a difference between how we be in the world and what we're actually capable of if we allow ourselves access to all of our awareness. So what we're doing largely today is we're going to open up as many of the paths that we can which have been closed down. So it might be skills, awarenesses, passions, insights, abilities, anything that you have which is your natural self but has been closed down. So
who are we? Hang out completely different people. I just have this like sense that I'm going to walk away in an hour and just because I know when I spoke to you last time, I just came away with such a different awareness. So be different.
Do you want to mention what that was?
I'm trying to think. We briefly touched upon money, but I think it was more about actually the awareness of me, to be honest, like who I am. And I don't know, I've been in a bit of a daze this week, because I think when your awareness changes, everything just like looks different. So if it's anything like that, I'm going to walk away just like feeling like that again, and just I don't know, I'm excited.
Okay, so when you say you're feeling about walking away, essentially what you're saying is there's significant shifts can happen. And you're kind of giving us a first-hand experience of
yeah,
week that when we do shifts, we can actually, we think we've got all of ourselves, and then we start to open up to much more, and we're like, wow, there's so much more of me I can be receiving, which is already there. It's just been shut off.
Well, yeah, coming on this hangout, this is, I don't mind saying, this is the first time I've done one, and like I feel this fear, but also this knowing once I've done this that I'm just going to be on these all the time. So the awareness more of me will just be great after this.
Excellent stuff. I want to start today with an awareness about compassion. So for those of you watching from home, what I'd like to invite you to do just for a moment is consider someone who's other than you, who's suffering physically. In fact, we can imagine lots of different kinds of people who are suffering physically. So that can include things like the physical effects of stress, whether it's to a small degree or to a very large degree. Somebody who's so we're feeling the various negative chemicals that we get in our body around stress and all the difficulties that come with that. It can be really, obviously, it can be really bad for us. We might also have compassion for people who are suffering through emotional eating, or even if they are, let's say, people who are suffering physical pain because they're cold or they're hungry or because they are work too hard, so maybe they have RSI or any kinds of things like that. So it's a pretty obvious question, but if I asked you if you would have compassion for such a person, then you probably would say yes, instantly you would have compassion for these people. And if I said at the flick of a switch, could you take away their pain? If it didn't cost you anything, then I imagine that you would say the same for that. You'd be absolutely be more than happy to help people remove any physical difficulties that are becoming them. So what I want to ask you all then is, if you'd be willing to do that for other people, would you be willing to do that for yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
Because everywhere where you've got a limitation or a shutdown around money or creativity is actually something where it's not so much as there's money that you're not entitled to, it's money that you're entitled to, or creativity that you're entitled to, or contribution or prosperity that you're entitled to, that you're actually costing, you're limiting it, you're denying it from yourself. And so that actually that's going to be having an effect on the body, because most of the things we want money for is have a comfortable life, because not having money is a very uncomfortable thing, both physically and emotionally. Mm-hmm. So before we go into anything else, what I'd like you to get a sense of is that I'm inviting you to have compassion for you around the pain and the difficulty and all the things that you've had to feel emotionally and physically because you've shut yourself off from being able to receive, whether that's money or anything else. It could be kindness, actually. But this is actually an invitation to an act of kindness for you. So when you were thinking about, oh, I'd really like to earn some money, but oh no, money isn't spiritual, or I'm a bad person, or something like that, or maybe my self-worth isn't there, then a different way to look at that is actually to start to have compassion for you and realize what you've been cutting yourself out from and taking away from yourself. So one thing we want to do with clearings is we're not looking for clearings just to be intellectual things. So that's why I'm bringing up this awareness of the feeling of the kind of stuff. Actually, I'm feeling quite a heaviness of all the things where I shut down me over the last 40 years, certainly the last 20 of my adult life. And so the most effective clearings are when we get that feeling of heaviness, of all the things you mentioned, the things you've beaten yourself up for over money, and you just let that go. So that's what I'm inviting you to do now, is just ask yourself, and you don't have to have any whys or how it happens, just ask yourself if you'd like to let that go. And if you would, then just allow that to drop out of your feeling, of your awareness. Okay.
As you say that, I can try to put into words what it feels like. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
It feels like I said this the other day, it feels like I've just stepped back into me again.
Yeah.
It's like I could see all this stuff just, yeah, it's just like stepping constantly back into the me that I don't even know, that I'm not even aware of.
Right. Yeah.
Consciously. It just blows my mind, this work, because the more that you shift things, the more I just think, yeah. Sorry, this is just my first-hand experience. It's just like, who am I kind of thing, you know?
So the more you shift stuff, the more you become aware of how powerful it is to shift stuff and how much more there is that you can shift, and therefore how much more of you there is that you can actually reclaim.
Definitely.
So we kind of could call this shadow work, and we're kind of reclaiming what we've been buried down in our shadows. So let's start first of all how this comes about. So if you think about it, when you're growing up as a child, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, there was some point, why wouldn't we just keep that in place until we're the age we are now in our adult life? Why wouldn't we just reclaim all these talents and passions and abilities and such like? And the answer is that we have to keep ourselves safe. Often we have to keep ourselves safe from the people who love us because they've been brought up in societies which they have their limitations as well. And, excuse me, as we move from pre-egoic childhood into adulthood, certainly when we're young adults, everybody's society drive is to fit in, to conform, and to be accepted in society. And particularly with our families. So if we have a family that's a certain way, we need to fit in with a family that's a certain way. Which is why I've only been dancing for the last 3 years, because up until that point, in my previous life, you can call it that, it hadn't been safe to claim dancing, which is crazy. But dancing is related to, let's say, sexual chi, sexual energy, and that was something that was hugely forbidden and quashed in our family. So as a child, I pretend to shut down certain abilities in order to be safe, in order to survive. So what we're doing with clearings and reclaiming is we're touching back into that. So it goes, if it's dangerous to show a part of our personality, or even uncomfortable when we're younger, we will shut it off into the subconscious, and it stays there either until we die or until we do proactive exercises like this, or potentially something could trigger it. But you know, if you feel the need to have some kind of therapy for something, for example. But most of the time it stays there unless we do these clearing activities. So that's what we're doing, is we're reclaiming all of ourselves through these exercises. So, and just to explain what you're feeling and what you felt last week when we did our session, Jen, is something that I felt about, what is it now, 2015, so about 6 or 7 years ago at the Integral Life Practice, started to do shadow work. And I'd arrived at that group with a false sense of self, in the sense that I thought I knew all of myself. I knew where the edges and the boundaries were of me. I thought me was being me. And actually, the introduction to shadow work in the format that we did it then showed me how much of myself had actually been cut off, and then starts the process of realizing, wow, I actually want to reclaim a few things.
And even when you're talking about dancing, I can relate to that, because that's something I've really wanted to do. And I've told myself reasons, I don't know, I've not ever done it, but then I'm aware that I want to.
Yeah.
I don't know the reasons why I haven't.
So we're going to come on to money. And so first of all, if we do a clearing on dancing,
okay.
It's got nothing whatsoever to do with money. But everything really is revolving around your one life force, your one consciousness. So don't underestimate the power or the ability for something that seems obscure or unrelated to have an effect on all of you. Okay. So for Jen and for me and for everyone else who's listening, anywhere where you've denied a passion that is really within you but it hasn't felt safe to show, such as dancing, would you like to let that limitation go now?
Yeah.
And anywhere where you've shut down a capacity or a passion for something like singing or art or any kind of formal creativity, would you like to let that go?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let's touch straight into entrepreneurialism then. So everybody has some form or creative ability for entrepreneurialism. And a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, that doesn't make sense. Or maybe they don't identify with that statement. But really, when we take away the aspect of money, the notion of being an entrepreneur, everybody has it and they can apply it to various things, like they might help run the village fete or something like that, or they organise a party, or they all these kind of things. We have that entrepreneurial ability, and then because we have these beliefs about we're not supposed to receive money, all that kind of thing, the actual word entrepreneur, because it's linked to money, again touches into blocks and limitations and what's been shut down. So anywhere where you've bought into the idea that you don't have any entrepreneurial ability or spirit, would you like to let that go now, please?
Yeah.
Okay. And anywhere where you've shut down your awareness to your entrepreneurial spirit or your passion for anything that you would like to create or would have liked to create in the past and may now still do, would you like to let that go?
Yeah.
Thank you. So again, although intellectual clearings can work, for the people at home, what we're really looking to do is get a feeling, excuse me, but I kind of want you to feel crap or feel the energy of heaviness. Because if you can touch, you're laughing, Jen, if you can touch into the energy of heaviness, then that's a much more real shift than sort of writing something on the paper. You can feel like, God, that's heavy. Let's get rid of that crap.
Mm.
Because you've been living with it for decades, and it is heavy. That's the idea. We're looking to become lighter, so we touch into what has been the limitations. Okay.
Mm.
So another thing that we have. Okay, so let's look at money. Let's talk about. Let's talk about anywhere where you've been comfortable to do something for free, which you know that has value. You got one? Anywhere
Yeah, I've got lots of them.
Okay. Anywhere where you've been willing to do something for free that you know has value, and you've judged yourself because you feel that you don't deserve to receive money for it, or you've judged money for it, would you like to let that go?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you see that as to actually let go of that judgment of you is actually a kindness to you?
Can you say that again? To let go of...
Yeah. To let go of the judgment of you is actually a kindness to you. So if you have a judgment, you do something which is worth money and you do it for free because you don't deserve money, to actually let that judgment go is an act of kindness to yourself, which we call compassion, which brings me back to the thing about if we'd have compassion for other people, well, why not have compassion for ourselves when our physical body and our emotional body is suffering because of the beliefs we have around money?
Yeah, see, what comes up for me around that is a link to family, or to a link to, like if I'm the only person in my family that works in that way as an entrepreneur, and I have people that go to an office that work 9 to 5, and I regularly hear comments like, so and so will be on the way home soon. They've been working all day, so let's do something for them to help them. And so say if I did something currently I only work a couple of hours a day. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, you're going great.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of interference. I only work a couple of hours a day, but at the moment I'm receiving money that I would have received when I used to work 9 to 5. So there's a little bit of guilt there for me around.
So that was again, Jen?
I think there's a little bit of guilt there for me, in that I am aware that I can create something where I can receive any amount of money. I've always been aware of that, but I've not allowed myself it up till now. But then there's this guilt feeling that, well, I can do that, but then people in my family aren't. So it's like...
Did you go, huh, just then? Did you? I heard you go, huh, yeah?
Yeah, sighed, yeah.
Even in that one sound
Yeah.
was the heaviness of the whole weight of carrying that around, which we all do. Yeah?
Mm. Yeah, and also what's come into my awareness is I feel judgments that other people have had to me when in my family and my outer family, when I started doing my own thing, I just feel this judgment from other people, like, oh, I just remember a relative saying, oh, how's it going? But I sensed this sort of, you know, do you know what I'm saying? The difference in these other people are working many hours. And almost like I feel like they didn't, this particular person, almost like I feel like they didn't really want me to do well. Or they didn't want me to sort of show a different way.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Go on. Why?
Because what does it reflect in them? What buttons does it press? So we have an unhealthy society where everybody does office jobs from the crack of dawn to, well, we say 5 o'clock, but by the time you've got home from London or wherever it is and fought and took your shoes off, you're probably talking about 6, 7 o'clock for most people.
Yeah.
So we spend all day working at something. Oftentimes we don't believe in, because its purpose is not to serve other people. Its purpose is to make money, because that's what's happening. And then we do it 5 days in a row. And then for most people, certainly in this country, when you get to Friday evening, all people can do in order to cope with that kind of life is to go out and get drunk.
Yeah.
So you have 5 days which are unhealthy by stress, and then an evening which is mega unhealthy through alcohol poisoning. And so the whole Sorry?
I was going to say, I can feel the heaviness of that, as you say, in that culture of working all those hours and like getting to Friday and being like, oh, you know, passing me a glass of wine. I don't do that, but I can feel that energy. And I think I've probably at some point made myself wrong for being different, that I don't need that. I just, yeah.
You don't need that negativity in your life?
No, that I don't need that kind of lifestyle.
Right.
That I don't do it. So I feel, you know, there's different things coming up here, different layers.
Well, to an extent, that kind of lifestyle is a con. Because often people are spending the money on things they don't need, but they've been told it will make them happy. You know, that's why we have such heavy advertising. You know, the amount of money spent on advertising is colossal. So there these people are, they're living their 5 unhealthy days a week, and then they've got their unhealthy weekend, which is just about coping, and then it's back to work in the morning, and it's really miserable. And there you are, Jen, you're working out, they've all got this sense that they know intelligently that they is not the life that they want, but they don't know how to get out of it because it's money. Yeah, how do you solve a problem like money? So then there's you, Jen, you come along and you're working your 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they feel, can't have you doing that. Get back here. Never mind that. Yeah. You get back in here or we're going to disapprove of you.
Well, it's funny you say that, because it's relatives that are older than me. And, you know, and I often like post out quite positive stuff on Facebook. And that's part of my creation, my creativity. I need to get it out of me quite on a daily basis, and Facebook's my way of doing it. And this particular relative actually took me off her Facebook because it was just too much for her.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, I took you off my Facebook. You post too much. Oh, it was too much." And I wonder why I don't want to be around these people. Like, seriously, I don't even want to be around some of these people. But then I start feeling like the more I step into it, I feel like then I'm pulling myself away from this like culture, like you say, family, tribe. But then how do you still operate around that? You know, because things like Christmas functions and things are the times when families come together, and yet, you know, and yet like it just feels so heavy. And and almost as if part of me that doesn't want to step into me more, because I feel like if I started to explore it, it would totally take, I think I said this the other day, it would take me completely over there, and then number one, what if nobody's over there? That's one of my beliefs. And number two, how do I come back from over there to the family that I'm just going to be feel completely like, I don't know, I feel a bit segregated in ways. Like the more I step into me and who I am, I can't fit back into that box, and it doesn't feel comfortable. So there's a part of me that stops myself from moving away.
So may I share an exercise that we did last week?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay, so do you remember we discussed this, and I said there has to be a point where a choice is made. Which is more important to you, retaining the approval of your friends and possibly even family, or living your life being true to yourself?
Yeah.
Do you remember what you chose?
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, it's a complete no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
But then it's almost the feeling of.
Okay, so maybe you're above average courage. So for everyone listening at home, anywhere where you have resistance to allowing yourself to be all of you, to be all of your creativity, to be all of your generative ability with money, but you have a fear of stepping into all of that because you're afraid of what it would be like if your friends and family disowned you and that. Would you like to let that fear go now?
Yeah.
They're at home saying yes. And we'll do that one more time. Before we let it go, I want you to feel into the heaviness of all that. Get a sense of everything that you've carried around, what it's like to be dragging that bag for years and years of thinking you're living your life, trying to live your life, but making sure we do everything that meets for everybody else's approval. And we have to keep ourselves small, or we have to keep ourselves uncreative, or just not expressing all of who we are, just to fit in. So please feel the energy of that first. Geez, that's a lot. Okay, and then when you're ready to, just let it go. It's your choice. And so we're not saying move away from your family. We're not saying do this or that. What we're saying is if you let go of the judgments around you, and you let go of the fears around doing that, because fear is just another form of judgment. If you have no self-judgments, you have no fear. Okay, so what the purpose is that we can let go of that, and then it takes you back to a place of genuine, pure choice.
Mm.
So then, if you allow yourself to be all of you, then you can decide for yourself whether it fits in with your truth to go back at Christmas, to hang out with the old friends who still want to stay in their poverty mentality, all of that stuff, or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like I can make a more clearer choice without judgment to myself. So using Christmas as an example, comes up to Christmas, and I feel like if I'm come from that place, I feel like, yeah, there's no judgment around me. So it's just almost like, actually, the thought of that doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to go.
Right.
I'm not going to be around them. But there's no judgment there. Whereas before it was like, but why? What's wrong with me? Why don't I want to be around these people? What are they going to think? And when you let all that go, actually, it's just a choice, isn't it? Of actually, do you know what? I don't want to be there, and that's it. And leave it there.
Absolutely. When judgment drops, you get to a point of choice.
Mm.
Before you let go of the judgment, you only have the illusion of choice. We think.
So you say that again?
Yes. Before you let go of the judgment around anything of yourself, whilst you've still got the judgments, you only have the illusion of choice. We don't really have choice. We think we have choice, but we're actually acting out of conditioning.
Yeah.
You see, so if I have a judgment that I'm not allowed to dance, so I go to a dance party or something, and I stand at the side. It looks like a choice, but I'm not making a choice because I'm acting under the influence of the conditioning that I had when I was 6, 8, 10 years old, or whatever it was, that shut down that capacity. So this is the understanding, is when you become conscious of these things, you reclaim free will, genuine free will. A choice before that is an illusion.
Yeah, I can feel the difference already just after that. I'm sort of thinking back to the scenario, and I don't feel the same about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about what creativity is then. So there's no moment of our lives which isn't subject to creativity. What we have is two states of being between, in any given moment, two states of being between being in judgment of ourselves and being in allowance or acceptance of ourselves. So we have fear consciousness and we have love consciousness. So if we're in judgment of ourselves, then it's kind of like what happens is there's always a permanent tap that's turned on, or there's a permanent tap, let's say, there's a permanent flow of creativity running through us, running through you, running through the universe. And whenever we're in judgment of ourselves, we shut down our awareness to that. Whatever our natural, spontaneous, true-to-self thing that we can do is, in those moments when we're in judgment, we shut down our awareness of that, because we're always operating under a system of, I need to be that in order to be okay with this judgment. So in order to fit in with the family or in society, I need to say what is expected of me to say. I need to be what is expected of me to be. You know, I can't go out wearing red because goodness, what would happen there? I can't be this creative because I'm just going to make sure, you know, there's this thing here and there's this thing here to make sure that I fit in with. Okay. So then when all of that goes, then you go, bam, you're in your spontaneity, you're in your creativity. Which is why I didn't have much of a plan for this webinar. Because I can get a rough idea of what I want to talk about, but then after that we have to go where the energy goes. We have to flow with whatever flows. So if the creativity is saying, right, we talk about what creativity is now, I can go and do it. Whereas if I've got this list, I'm going, oh, hang on, I need to talk about this and I need to talk about that. So we're shutting down the creativity. So your natural creativity, and this is basically an expression of your true personality, is one and the same thing with the consciousness which flows around the universe. It's the same life force, the consciousness that flows around you. Now the thing is, this puts us in the state which we call I can't even say it. Vulnerability.
You felt vulnerable to say it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't speak very well. Me and vulnerability are becoming good friends anyway, so it's kind of fine for me. But this is the point, that if we operate under the system of controlling ourselves, where okay, I'm going to make sure I do this and I'll make sure I do that. As soon as we step out of that and we go to creativity, and we go with our natural spontaneous expression, we're putting down the defenses. Do you see? We're putting down all the things that keep us safe. You know the saying that all the things keep us safe are the same things that keep us feeling love. Or the walls that keep us in, keep people out from bad things, also keep us from connecting. But it's also true with creativity. So anywhere we're operating from, I must be this or I should do that, we're shutting down creativity. So to allow it back in calls for vulnerability. We're vulnerable because it's like, okay, I'm not going on the script anymore. I'm not going to do what you say. I'm not going to do what you say. I'm flowing with my own creativity, so here's me. Make of it what you will. So there's vulnerability there. And so what it helps to realize and recognize the truth of is that vulnerability is a strength. It's more than a strength. It's actually what allows our very health and our life force, because the extent to which we're not shutting down that, we actually have mental judgment going on in our head. And as if you've watched The Power of Love, you'll know I quote Peter Ragnar when he talks about the mental static that is happening around the body when we have self-judgment going on. So the mind is not clear because our body is, let me get this right, the body is bioelectric and the energy field that surrounds us is biomagnetic. So anytime we're in judgment, we are causing suffering to ourselves and we're blocking that flow. You see?
Wow. Yeah, I just got that quite. Can I just share something that hit me with that? So I've actually got to the point where my body won't even allow me to do that anymore. And I just got that when you said that. If we had scripted this call and you had told me how, you know, if I was working with someone and they told me how it had to be or whatever, it would create a nervous feeling within me. And actually, now I know what that is that, like you say, it's just when you don't feel like your creativity is allowed to just flow. And actually my body won't even allow that anymore, because, like you say, anywhere where you've shut it down, the discord and the heaviness that feels within the body, I've experienced that so much that I can't even go into that feeling anymore. So I have to function from being me, and you know, where people say, oh, it looks really brave that you do this, or you open up and you share these things with people. Actually, it's not perceived as brave to me. It's perceived as, if I don't do this, I know that I'm not going to feel well within my body. And so my body is so linked to creativity. I feel it.
Yeah.
That goes.
Here's my interesting question. Was it always that way for you, Jen?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
So what happens is you're...
Always.
So this is where awareness is always on our side. When we become conscious of what's true, it's always on our side. Because you can become aware. You've increased your awareness so much that actually you've started to associate discomfort with not being vulnerable, with the stagnation. So the idea that if you can put yourself out there now, the idea that you won't and you'll maybe, oh, well, I'll think about putting myself out there next week or something like that, it actually becomes more uncomfortable to do the stagnation thing. And
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, it's that awareness of, if I actually don't do those things, that even though it doesn't feel completely always comfortable to do it because of fear and probably everything that you're talking about, you know, fitting in, it's like, but when you say, have I always been like that? Yes, but not consciously aware of it. So what actually happened for me was, because of that, I didn't have that awareness to link that. I didn't link those two things together. When you're a child, you don't, you know, you're in school and then it all gets shut off, that awareness. And, you know, I think we did discuss this the other day, is what's happened from a child point of view, and I still carry some of this energy now, is that I've made my body wrong. I've made myself, I'm not at ease with my body because I don't understand it. I've never understood it from a child, being a child. I've never understood why I would feel a certain way in certain places, and I've never linked those two things.
Sorry, why feel?
Sorry.
Say that last
bit.
What
did I feel?
You've never linked why you felt certain things in your body to the notion.
To the creativity, to the you know, the being at school and being told to, like, everything that this is bringing up, you know, stand on that bench there and, you know, we will sing this song and we will do this. And, like, that discomfort I felt in my body of needing to get off that bench, like, I didn't understand. As a child, like a 7-year-old, I didn't consciously think, oh, you know, I need to be off somewhere doing something else, and this is just because I've got all this creativity I need to use. I didn't understand that. I just knew that I didn't feel well. And then what happens is then the teachers reinforce that back to you, and then what happens is then you end up with this complete disconnection between the body and the creativity, and you just shut more of yourself off, because then I was left to just feel like there's just something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me, you know. I've always...
because school will teach you every subject under the sun, but they won't teach you how to listen to your body.
I know, it's crazy.
And they won't teach you how your body is linked to your mind.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, because they weren't at a deep enough level of love in the culture that they were living in to actually put that on the curriculum or value it.
No, and it's still not really on the curriculum.
No. There you go. We do it here. So, so for people at home, so for the people listening at home, anywhere school may have been in certain respects very good for us, because it taught us some things that we needed to know, like counting and adding up and all that kind of thing. So there will be some good things that we learned from school. But anywhere where your school experience has limited you or left you cut off to the true passions, abilities, determination, confidence, self-confidence, all that kind of thing, entrepreneurial spirit, anything that you've shut off as a result of your school days, would you like to let that go?
Yeah, I'll say yes for everyone so I can feel that.
Thank you. And so this is where the notion of loving things away comes from, because those things that I just talked about that we shut down, we actually make judgments of ourselves, because we have a sense of, oh, you know, I can be an astronaut, or I can be whatever it is that I can do. I can be popular, I can be funny, happy, charming, I can run a business, I can be profitable, I can make sales, I can make happy customers, all these kind of things. Anything like that, if we sort of have a good idea and then we mention it to someone when we're young, it's like, no, you won't do that. It's like, oh, Christ, we make it wrongness. Yeah. So we make wrongness, so we put it, it's a judgment of us, so that we're bad for wanting to do that, because some adult in authority has told us that we're silly, or we shouldn't want to receive that thing. Yeah, do you see? So
yeah,
so to actually pop our conscious awareness back into it and become aware of that, and realize that now it's no longer dangerous to show that, it's now safe to show that, is actually a form of loving ourselves. So we're loving away all of the judgments that we built up. See, so I can feel this now I can feel the judgment across my chest, so I'm going to let that go. Okay. And for you at home, and for Jen, if you'd like to let that go as well. Anything, you don't have to intellectually understand stuff as well. We're working with energy, so if you get a heaviness that comes up, then that's kind of good, because we want to touch into what it is that we want to let go of. But then you can just let go of the feeling. You don't have to understand how it goes away. You can just make a choice, and you can just do it feeling-wise. Just let it go.
Do you know what comes to me now is for myself, and I've seen it with a lot of other people, and I don't know if it's just women, or I don't know whether men feel this, or whether it's like but a sense of also fitting in, not just with a parent, but also fitting in a relationship sense as well. I see so many entrepreneurial women that actually their partner doesn't even really know what they do. And it's like, there's this fear of, oh my gosh, like if they knew, or if they knew what I was capable of, if I showed them that side of me, then I know so many women that I know if women are actually dumbing themselves down, for want of a better phrase, and actually keeping themselves at a certain level for fear of what will happen if they actually express their full self-awareness. So,
okay, so you're saying that the male partners actually don't hear about all the potential and power and dynamic activity that the women are capable of?
Yeah, because the woman's afraid that and I don't know if some women, if it's a case of there's more women that tapped into their creativity. I don't know, but I know of women that, I know there must be a lot of women that are holding themselves in a place where they're not in their full creativity, because if they were,
they're not even, right?
Because if they were in their full creativity,
sorry, no,
they'd probably like.
Can you say that last thing again? They're not even allowed to what?
What did I say? So I don't think they're not allowed. Like, I think they don't allow themselves to be in their full creativity.
Right.
Because if they did, for many, many reasons, which I think that's really interesting from a woman's point of view, because there's a lot of women that are coming into the entrepreneurial place within themselves and that creativity place, but perhaps, like, say if, for example, if they've been in a relationship, say, I don't know, 5-6 years, and then they start to tap into their awareness more in the last 18 months, then in order to keep that relationship there and that safety there and that fitting in with society, they have to shut off that awareness.
Yeah.
Because if they step into it, then the fear of what that will bring. And I've seen that a lot for women.
Yeah. And do you remember we talked about the difference earlier, a few minutes ago, between the difference between creativity and stagnation?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in judgment of yourself, you're not in your creativity, you're not in your vulnerability.
Yeah.
So that is actually the same principle as is applied to romantic love when people first fall in love.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever asked the question, why is it that two people, when they meet and their early days are all so happy, they're the same people a year later, 5 years later, all that kind of thing? And the reason is not because they've changed necessarily, or they might have, but it's the dynamic of it, that you start from a place of creativity, and then when you get into attachment, you move into a place of fear of loss.
Yeah, so it kind of to me, it kind of mirrors the whole parent thing, because it's the same kind of, I don't know where I'm going with this, but whatever. It's like the same kind of trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, stay in society. And, you know, I hear so many women say, like, oh, when I'm single, that's when I can be me and I have all this creation. And then as soon as they get into a relationship, it's almost like, I mean, I've heard this being spoken about in access consciousness, but it's almost like you just cut off that part of you and think, right, how can I fit myself into this mold of a way that I can still keep a bit of that creativity, but also, like, fit in as well. I think it's really interesting because, you know, what would it take for more women to step into who they are?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there, you know, can you fit into with like a relationship and keep a bit of your creativity? Yeah?
Yeah, something like that.
What I would say to you is, and I ask it as a question so you have choice, why wouldn't you choose to keep all of your creativity? Exactly.
Well, because I'm just going off the people that I see it happen to and the people that speak to me about it. This is probably a whole other topic. This is a whole other, like, talk. But
yeah. There's a dearth of people at the moment who are ready to do relationship without judgment.
Yeah, and I think also there's a lot of women that are ready to, I mean, I'm just talking from my point of view, unless anybody else comes in with their questions. Hint, hint, I've not had any questions yet. From a woman's point of view, yeah, it's about that creativity, and I just see a lot of women that are ready to step into their awareness and their creativity, and the money thing, it all intertwines, you know. And yet I see people that are fearful of, like, you know, gosh, if I do that, what will my partner think? And then the whole money thing intertwines, because then it brings up the whole thing about, you know, the society thing about women shouldn't earn more money or receive more money than men.
Yeah.
It's, you know, so it's like, how many women stifle that what they know? How many women are stifling what they know to be able to keep that part of them, but also keep that relationship as well, you know?
Yeah, and do you remember we talked about one of the principles is here is we're regaining our awareness. So we want to be operating from awareness rather than from conclusion. Because let's let you talk about, you would be, if we did this scripted, you would be uncomfortable. And the reason you would be uncomfortable is because we would be going to conclusion about how it's going to be. And therefore, by definition, you would have to shut down your awareness. So one of the principles is that we want to reclaim our awareness, or we want to live from awareness. Well, I mean, you can do what you want, but I'm going to live from awareness. So let's go back to this thing about the women and the confidence to be with their husbands. Let me just check.
Yeah, I've checked. I don't think we've got any questions in yet.
Okay. Okay, that's something else. So we start with Maslow's pyramid of needs, and that's why I said to you the first thing of awareness you want to have is you want to ask yourself back for your awareness of your differences awareness between physical danger and emotional danger.
Yeah.
And it sounds crap, but we have to start at this level. So the first thing is, because essentially what you're talking about is an either-or choice where you'd like to have both choice. So,
Yeah.
so you're in a relationship, let's say, or a woman's in a relationship, and well, it could be a man as well, actually, if there's judgment involved. So you're in a relationship, and you've got a choice between showing all your entrepreneurial spirit or showing all of your personality and pleasing your partner.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you might have a fear that you get judged, okay? So
Yeah.
the first thing we have to ask, if that is the case, is that fear a physical threat? Most of the time we'd like to think it wouldn't be, but we do need to, it's very important, I invite you to ask yourself back for that awareness, all women really, and all people, because we need to, and this does apply to me actually, because it's one of the reasons why I won't do mainline radio. There's a difference between people judging us, and that can be emotional problem. Which, if we gain wisdom, right, I can get to the point where emotional things don't bother me. You know, if I was in a nightclub and I was dancing 5 rhythm style, blah blah blah, and there's all these guys at a bar and they're all looking at me saying, "Oh, look at him in his personality." If they're judging me, that's fine, but I won't go to nightclubs because the chances are it's not just an emotional threat.
Yeah.
The chances are if they've had a load of beer and they're sort of it's pressing their buttons because they aren't allowed to dance in front of their women who they fancy and they aren't allowed those, then the chances are they're going to want to attack me. Okay.
Mhm.
So that is always the first thing we start off with awareness of fear is a distinction between the physical fear and the emotional fear. Now let's assume then that we get past that and we get to a point where there's no physical fear or we choose to remove ourselves. Then you're in the place of plain choice. To an extent, if you want to be in a relationship with a partner as well, then you're kind of down to supply and demand as to how many high-quality guys there are that are going to be able to hold you in your entrepreneurial and your free-flowing personality. But ultimately, it's going to come down to choice, whether you're going to put up with only being allowed to show some or a bit of who you are or all of it. You see?
Mhm.
So can you see now the link between creativity and fear? Or rather, the inverse link?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Creativity is what happens when there's an absence of fear.
Mm.
And so all of these things is, rather than looking at each individual bit, like, oh, I've shut down my money, or I've shut down this, or I've shut down relationship, it's all about our life force. It's all about our same essence, our personality, and whether or not we're allowed to show all of that. And as we start to allow ourselves to show all of that, then we get to be us fully. We get to be me fully by allowing all of that to come out. And then that helps each area individually is helped by that.
Yeah.
But until we get to awareness if that's what it is, then it's like...
Mm. Okay. So how do we clear that then?
We just let it go. We just choose.
Just let it go, right.
Just let it go. Yeah. If you're watching at home, you just say to yourself, I no longer want to live with fear. If there's physical fear, please tell me and I'll run away from it. But other than that, I no longer want to live with fear. I'm not going to judge myself. Therefore, if other people judge me, that doesn't bother me either. So I'm willing to allow myself to choose that. And anything that will allow that, I now choose to let it go. And any feeling of heaviness that you feel in your body, you carry it around. So, okay, I'm not going to let that go. Oh, I am. I am going to let that go. Maybe if you say you're not, you're not. It's great to honour. If you ask yourself a question, you get a no, then allow that to be okay. So that would be why I made that Freudian slip there, is to make that point that you're asking yourself without expectation. Because if you If you make a choice and then you have expectation it must be there, then can you feel the constriction there? You're still operating from judgment, because you're judging you if it doesn't happen, if you don't manage to manifest what you've chosen. You see? So the energy is tight, and then it's once that's let go of, there's no judgment. Then you're free to receive. And we're going to creative body wisdom another week. Because I do certain moves, physical moves that if I can feel a judgment, I'll just dance out of the way of it or something. You know, if I feel it in my body, it's like, leave that in the space there, I'm out of here, kind of thing. And another week we'll probably look at the wisdom diet as well, because we can talk about it too. Weight management is a big one. What happens if we have fear and judgment and we want to go out and write a book and express ourselves and be entrepreneurs, but we have this judgment? So okay, well, I'll go and eat some chips or something because I'm miserable and I'm not sure why. I'm a bit unconscious as to what's happening, but I'm pretending that I'm choosing to drink these beers or eat this chocolate and eat pies or whatever it is, but really it's... I'm aware of why I'm doing it, because it's triggered by the emotional pain of not allowing me to show my heart.
I definitely want more wisdom around my body. Can I just go back to the thing you said about, oh, it's just a choice and just let it go, and the feeling that I had, and it's something I said last week, is around, well, I don't really know what this fear is, but it's around, well, okay, so say I just say, oh, I'll just let it go, and, you know, make a choice and everything, and then I have this very, very deep down core fear of like, well, then what if I'm on my own? Like, what if nobody else is making that choice? And then I just say, oh, well, never mind that the rest of society is functioning that way. You know, I'll just let it go and go over there. And then it's like, I just see this vision of like, well, actually there's nobody over there. And that doesn't feel good because I'm a sociable person. So I don't know what you make of that, like what that is all about.
So you have a sense that if you step into all of you, then you're stepping away from people.
Yeah, it's a sense of segregating myself.
Okay.
Because I'm not fitting in, so I'm pulling myself away, and then it's like, who's over there? I'm on my own.
Okay. The first thing is you might have noticed that when you step away from the attachment of all the people that have been holding you back, you start to find and discover new worlds and new cultures and populations as you're doing that. And I've seen a lot of other people have kind of started to step into that community and gone, oh well, there's people here. So they do exist, and they're not necessarily your next door neighbour, but they exist, and certainly finding them online is a good way to do that. But what you have to understand is that there's a difference between what you choose and what you're willing to risk. So I would choose to be around people, but I'm not going to have attachment or fear of loss of that shut down my creativity or my personality. So I choose people if they're around and if that's an option, and without having that limitation, that attachment, I can step into all of me. And then because I literally, it's not like you kind of, when you start doing these things, you kind of, there's a trap where you think you can kid yourself. So it's like, oh well, I'll pretend to have let go of this attachment, and then I can have the thing, but you still got the attachment. Okay.
Yeah, on an energetic level. Yeah.
When you genuinely let go of the attachment, then you'll find that you're pretty much in a place of choice, and pretty much things are going to be where they're going to need to be anyway for you, or where you're going to want them to be. They're going to be people that, it might change a bit, but it's kind of, if it does change, it's often that's really because it's kind of, it's one way that the universe gives you what you've chosen.
Yeah, and I think also it would sure feel a lot better for stuff to come from a place of choice rather than not functioning from that place, and actually the universe will just change it anyway, and actually it will then just feel like being hit round the head 20 times, because I've had that a lot of times, you know. So it would be really good to function from a place of choice. And I think when you do, you're in the flow more anyway, aren't you? So, you know, I've had quite a lot of synchronicity this week, and I think that when you're in the flow, and like you say, you genuinely just let go,
Yeah.
things just show up and come along, and maybe it's coming from that place of not what's the word, like pre-scripting, like you said, with a call like this, not trying to pre-script what happens in your life, but actually just following the energy. But I feel like that takes a lot of trust to do that.
Yeah, it takes a lot of faith.
Faith, yeah.
So it takes. What does it take faith in? A deeper part of you that's deeper than the chatty mind.
A deeper part, yeah, a deeper part that's more aware and knowledgeable than actually the people in my family and the people in my society.
Okay.
So.
And would it need to be also deeper than your own fears?
Yeah, it would be a part of me that I'm not aware of, yeah, like an underlying current.
Yeah. So that's really what wisdom is, which is why I always teach wisdom. Because the first thing, if people are going to make shifts, the first thing they need to do is to gain emotional strength and freedom. So if we're only willing to feel 50% of our emotions, there's no way we're going to be able to tap into our money or our creativity, because everything we do is going to be influenced and informed by a fear that we will have to feel one of these other 50% of feelings. So it's by first understanding who we are at a level deeper than emotion, or at a level of consciousness. What wisdom is, which is the capacity to understand emptiness. It's who we are before all these attachments and notions. That gives us the power and the strength to actually feel into all the emotions. So we have no resistance and attachment to what might happen. We have choice and preference, but we don't have resistance and attachment.
Yeah, sure.
So all of that, would you like to let it go?
Yes, everything that was, wherever it came from.
I feel we've done an hour, and we've probably got about 4 more hours of this topic.
Yeah, because it flows different ways, doesn't it? I think everything's intertwined and it flows different ways, and
yeah. It's no linear flow of consciousness where it's my friend Brandy quotes the Rumi quote. You know, there's only one thing to do, and that's remove blocks to love.
Yeah.
So we're going off in all kinds of different directions: relationships, health, money, creativity, social, all that kind of thing, and what's affected by school, parents, all these kind of things. It's just clearing whatever gets in the way. So anytime we or you at home listening have a block, anytime you feel constricted because you don't feel that you're allowed to be you, or you're not allowed to have your awareness, just ask yourself if you'd like to let go of that feeling, and then that will return you to a place where you start to have an inner dialogue with yourself, where you're trusting and you're communicating. And your deeper self, which looks after you, can tell you what it's really trying to tell you. And as we said earlier, if there's any need to be aware of any physical fears or any other realities like that, or emotional fears possibly, it's important that we know about those as well, because we don't all want to pretend that we're emotional 100% strength. You know, that's going to be varying from person to person and from year to year, from time to time, as we develop the skills to be 100% emotionally strong. Where was I going with that? I've forgotten now. So, okay, so that has gone for the moment. I did want to touch in on self-worth. Yes, so self-worth is people have said that they have self-worth issues around money. And you know, they don't believe that they're worth money, or they don't believe that their product is worth money, or what they give to people. They intellectually know that it's worth something, but there's a judgment there. What I would say is, it may be self-worth, but what I've noticed that most of the time self-worth is an overcurrent is an overcover for other things. But actually, if you look into it and you start a communication with yourself, what awareness can I have about what's going on here? Then you find it's not actually something to do with self-worth. It's something you're trying to tell yourself about the values that you want to live by or the choices that you want to live by. And it's actually trying to give you more awareness, more choice, and more ability to be true to yourself. So I wouldn't be too quick to jump into the self-worth one, although I lack self-worth. That's why I can't have money, because you can feel into it. It was probably just keeping you safe, and B, it's probably now trying to introduce you to remind you and to get you to acknowledge much more of what's true for you, what's true to your heart, what you really want to do and be.
Yeah. One of the questions I had, but I don't know, probably running out of time for today, but I don't know if you'll talk about this another day, but the whole money thing, I feel like it's a really great excuse to not be you. So it's like, so often you hear the phrase of like, oh, I can't go to that thing, or I can't do that thing because I don't have the money. Yeah. And actually, it's like, well, if you did have the money, would you feel safe to even go there or have that house? And actually, so it's not really even about the money, but not having money can make you feel very safe because you don't have to change. So I think that would be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, and there can be some reality to it, but a lot of the time it's like, what me am I not willing to step into by making money the issue of the block? And it actually works the other way around as well, because when I started doing this work, there was like the thought process went like this. It goes, I know I want to do this work, and I know it's what I'm meant to be doing. And then the second thought comes up, okay, but if you're going to do something like that, that comes under the category of work and employment, therefore you have to make money at it, and therefore you have to quit your job. So then the third thought came up, right, well, therefore you have to earn enough money to quit, and therefore if you can't, then you can't do the work, you see?
Yeah.
And so what that then led me to an awareness of was I wasn't going to use money or the need to earn money from doing what I'm doing as an excuse for doing it.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, I will start in my spare time, even if I have to give it away for free or whatever I have to do. If I'm meant to be doing this, I will do it and not worry about the money.
Mm-hmm.
I might still worry about money generally if it's relevant, or let's say I have a concern to get enough money in so I can live. But if if it comes to a choice between you've got 2 hours on the weekend and you can go and do something entrepreneurial or creative, which has monetary value, but you might not necessarily receive it, we have a culture that says that it judges us, so we go and watch TV or we do something that we don't want to do because we can't do this because we'd guilt ourselves if we didn't earn money at it because it'd be stupid to do it. And actually, when we tap into what's true, our true awareness, we find that actually we might enjoy it, even doing it for free, we would enjoy it more.
Mm. Yeah, and then your creativity isn't stifled then, is it? Because if you come from the point of view of, well, I'll only go and do that thing over there because it's going to bring me, X amount of money in, and then I think like people act a certain way and they be a certain way because they think that way of being or that thing is going to bring in the money. But then how much does that then stifle your creativity? And then it's like, if I actually show up completely as me, are people going to think I'm completely bonkers and they're not going to pay me anything for it? And so I won't be me, I'll just show this part of me and I'll get paid for it. So it's like the two things are just... And actually what comes to me is how often do people actually then think, oh, I'll do it for free because then it feels safe to be completely themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm completely me and I put a price tag on it and nobody pays it, that says something about me then. That says that actually it's not safe to be me. Whereas if I say I'll do this for free...
Well, that's a conclusion, but I see where you're going with it.
Yeah.
So I think it can be true either way around.
Mm.
So certainly people can judge themselves if they're afraid that if they sell something or they ask for money for what they give for their being, then they're afraid that if nobody pays it, that's a form of judgment of them. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so there's a sense of I won't risk that because I would be judged. Okay, so the way we take that back in from other people is if we conclude within ourselves, we make the choice from awareness but I won't judge me even if other people judge me, and I won't judge me even if nobody buys this. I won't judge it as worthless or whatever. I will judge it as the value as I know it to be. Or I won't even judge me as if I want to do it, I will do it. I don't care whether it makes money or not. And then inadvertently you open the freedom that it might.
But like you say, it's a conclusion, but I think it's a conclusion that majority of people come to because perhaps they need that money for that safety feeling. So it's like a whole cycle. So if they can guarantee that they'll get the money to get to that place of safety, then they're willing to then cut off that part of who they are. And they'll only show so much creativity to guarantee the money, to guarantee the feeling of safety, to pay your bills, to live in your house. So it's like all linked.
Exactly.
So where I'm going with this. This is just
we can end it on one clean clearing. So anywhere where you've got judgment around you or fear around you that's blocking your creativity and your ability to generate the expression of your true personality that you'd like to, would you like to let it go?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks today, Jen. I want to wrap up because we've gone 10 minutes over time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to do these webinars weekly. And we will probably touch in on body wisdom, as we said, probably touching on the wisdom diet, and if people are watching, we'll encourage you to ask more questions because we didn't get as much feedback there, did we? So it's slightly difficult to interact with with an audience we can't see. So for future audience, you're very welcome to make yourselves more visible by asking questions on the page. And I actually was emailed one question which I didn't read out, but hopefully answered addressed some of the points that were in that, so that would be good too. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you to you as well.
Website, of course. Sorry, if anyone wants to go to the website, it's probably the one you're on already, is jamesblacker.com. And if you sign up to my mail list, then you get notification of all of my free webinars. Sorry, Poppet.
Okay, so we're closing, are we? Are we done?
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing.
Okay. Pleasure. Thank you as well.
Cheers, Jen.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.